Well, Ann Coulter, of course, the best-selling author. If you haven't read all of her books, a lot of them really apply today, like Demonized, Mugged. All of them are great to read today. Demonic, great book for today's world. But just go to AnnCoulter.com. You can get all her books there, AnnCoulter.com. Or follow her on Twitter, Ann Coulter at Twitter. Ann Coulter, how you doing?
Hi, Mark Simone. How are you? How's New York?
Well, it's reopening today. What do you think? No masks? It's about time, isn't it?
Yeah, considering Texas and Florida have been pretty much wide open about a month into the pandemic. Even Connecticut, I gather, was pretty open without much ill effect. So, yeah, welcome to the free world.
Yeah, actually, today in Connecticut, all restrictions are lifted. Everything is back to normal. That was a crazy left-wing governor, Lamont, but in the last year, very practical guy. He saw the light, and he became a really good governor. He's even talking about lowering taxes this year. So
yeah, well, if he does that, he could get all those ex-New Yorkers to move back from Florida.
So if you're a Republican and you're running for governor next year in New York, all you got to do is say, why are we the highest tax state in the world? Why do we pay the highest taxes on earth? How does any Democrat counter that?
Probably by reminding the voters that most of them don't pay taxes. It gets to be kind of a problem, foreseen by all the theorists of democracy going back, 600 years. You can't have people voting who aren't paying. That's the original problem we're facing in America and in New York. I will say that I'm totally behind Eric Adams now. I think I told you
what?
last week. Yeah. For one thing, I read their long, the candidates, at least the main ones. They're very long interviews with the New York Times. And, maybe he's BSing us, but we only can go by what they're saying. And, oh, my gosh, does Eric Adams talk about crime, which is the number one issue. You can't have life in New York with the crime levels and the homeless people, the attacks. I mean, the subway, which is paid for by those few people who do pay taxes in New York, is a no-go zone now. In any event, so that was step one. This Eric Adams keeps talking about how the main issue is crime, and he was praising the CompStat system that he apparently developed a similar computer method for determining where the crime is and flooding the zone with cops. And that, of course, was the main pillar of Giuliani's fight against crime, and a successful fight used by Bill Bratton and Giuliani. So he knows what he's talking about. He knows what the main issue is. And since then, I happen to have noticed that the New York Times keeps launching all these petty anti-attacks on Eric Adams. So, okay, he's my guy.
Oh, well, I know he's been calling some of our top law enforcement officials and experts and talking to them, trying to help craft a message. And I would say to them, you think he's really sincere, or he just wants to get the right message to win votes? And they'd all say, I don't know. So it could be conning
but
us.
At least look, as far as I'm concerned, he just did the same thing with Trump. Does he mean it? I don't know, but he's saying the right things.
Well, hey, speaking of crime, Chicago, 46 people shot this past weekend. Why do they keep voting in these Democratic mayors? Why the hell does this keep happening? The city's total disaster. They keep voting for them.
I would say far worse than that is yes, totally agree with you, by the way. They just yesterday voted, re-elected the lunatic George Soros DA of Philadelphia. Even the New York Times ran an article a few weeks ago. Can a DA be reelected when murders have soared by 40% since he's come in? He is for the city of Philadelphia. He's basically decriminalized crime. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it's mostly the criminals voting.
Oh, well, that would explain it. I'm chewing. Sorry, I was expecting a longer answer.
I know, sorry, most of the time I blather for 20 minutes.
I thought I could take a big bite there.
You can leave the room, get a coffee.
So, in midterm elections, it's always tradition, whether it's Obama or Bill Clinton, Republicans take back everything. Don't you think there's going to be a landslide this year? Democrats, when you talk about fuel prices, gas prices, you talk about food price, I mean, this is a tax on everybody. People are going to go nuts at the midterms, aren't they?
Oh, I don't know. You know I like to always expect the worst, so I won't be disappointed. And I would say never put it past Republicans to blow it. I don't see them talking quite enough about Biden's biggest Achilles heel, which is obviously the border. I mean, over and over again in a vast array of polls, what he's just flinging open the border is killing him. He's bringing in COVID. He's bringing in criminals. He's bringing in, best case scenario, people who will be a drag on our social services, roads, schools, unemployment rate. That's the best case. That's the good illegal immigrants pouring in. And Americans are sick of it. I mean, they were sick of it long before COVID. Now we've had most of the country shut down all this time. How about caring about Americans? I mean, speaking of people who said the right things, what happened to make America first? I can use a little less talk about taxes and wars in the Middle East and a little more chit-chat about what you're going to do to make Americans better off. I think this was an absolute disaster. By the way, this is one of these answers that you could have gone out and gotten a coffee for. I mean, perfect example, Kevin McCarthy. I mean, yes, Liz Cheney is a showboater and wouldn't shut up about January 6th. Yes, I know that's an obsession of our media, Liz, but if you're really so concerned about violence and insurrection, I've got a hot tip for you. Tonight, in Seattle and Portland, there will be a riot. Tonight. It's happened every night. They burned down police precincts, ripped down statues, attacked police. Every night this is going on in, a half dozen American cities. But we have to fixate on this fraternity prank on January 6th. So yes, Republicans were absolutely right to dump Liz Cheney from her leadership position. But only Kevin McCarthy and the Republicans could come up with someone even worse. This Elise Stepanak, who's open borders, voted against bringing troops home from Afghanistan, voted against wall funding. So, that isn't where the people are. Luckily, we don't have a saying, as Kevin McCarthy goes, so goes the Republican Party. But wow, that's embarrassing.
Hey, do you think the government is taking their time prosecuting these January 6 people because they don't want the nation to realize after it's all done and everybody's prosecuted on the 1,200 charges that nobody got charged with insurrection, that there was no insurrection?
Well, more than that, I mean, there were like yes, that's a good point. But there were like 5,000 people on the ellipse, and let's say 1,000 of them, I mean, I've looked at the pictures, I'm not good at estimating numbers, but 1,000 of them walk over to the Capitol. So, I mean, at most you have maybe a dozen people at the head of the line who were total monsters and fought with the Capitol Hill police and should be arrested and prosecuted and convicted for fighting with the Capitol Hill police. But the other 900 and 86 of them, they came in afterwards. They had no idea that there was fighting that preceded it. They believed it was public. It was open. The Capitol Hill police, we now have video saying, sure, come in and here, and they walk through peacefully. So, I mean, all of this insurrection, at most they're getting these people for trespassing, something they didn't even realize they were doing. And I mean, I've talked to liberals off camera about this.
Yeah.
And it really was like kids taking over the dean's office. There was, other than a dozen or a half dozen of them fighting with the Capitol Hill police and being jerks. That isn't the whole thing, and yet we're going to have to hear about this every day for the rest of our lives.
I know. Well, I hate to say we're out of time, but everybody go to AnnCoulter.com. You can get her books there. You can get her column, AnnCoulter.com. Make sure you follow her on Twitter, too, Ann Coulter at Twitter. And Ann Coulter, thanks for being with us.
Good to talk to you, Mark Simone. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. Andrew Giuliani. Now, you're thinking, well, he's too young. He's too... You want to see what a good candidate he might be? Take a look at this opening commercial he produced. This is very, very powerful. Take a look at it. It's up on the website. Just go to 710WOR.com/Mark.